それでは今日の
Thank you all very much for waiting. Now we would like to move on to the panel discussion 3, which would be of the final session of the day. I'm sure that all of you are now already exhausted with all these topics one after another, and I'm thinking of doing this in a timely manner. But I enjoyed the panel discussion too, and therefore the time is a little bit over. But I would like to leave time as much as possible so that we would be able to entertain questions from the floor. What I went over to the panelists and what I've mentioned to him was that everyone should be in time for each one of their presentations. So I'm sure that they would cooperate with us and trying to present it in a limited amount of time. And then at the end, we would like to open the floor for Q&A. So I originally thought of giving the presentation, but due to time, I would like to omit my part of the presentation and would like to jump right into the presentation from the panelists. Now, in the panel discussion number 3, well, we have already had such a informative, experience-based and history-based topic. And that was the panel discussion number 1. This was more to do with the medical and nursing side of it, and 2 talked about its history. Now, session 3, which is this session, is to understand the current situation and then try to aim for the future and what we can do for the future. And with that concept in mind, we would like to ask each one of the panelists to make the presentation. Now, the bio of each and every panelist is already in this booklet. Therefore, I would like to omit the profile of the speaker and would like to go and explain and introduce the first speaker. Now, the first presenter is Ms. Lin Yu, who's the coordinator of the project department of JIA, which is Joy in Action.
I try my best to save the time. The next one. Today I will introduce about the general situation of the leprosy-affected village in China and then how they respond to the problem. And in China, there are totally about 600 villages, and most of them are in the south. And lots of the villages, especially in the poverty area, they're lies in the deep mountain or on the island. And of course, some of them are near from the town. And how about the living condition? Some like this, maybe poor housing, or mud road, or even facing the electricity or the water supplies problem. And some like this is much better. And the level of a lot of villages living conditions like this one. And in the society, people know little correct knowledge about the leprosy. So they have the discrimination and the prejudice against the people who are affected by the leprosy. And living lowly, inferiority is what most of the people know about the villages. What we see in about our eyes maybe is exactly exist. So we try to do something to change the situation. But there's really one thing that important, that is the common human dignity. And people maybe it's not easy to realize that, but that's really the important things. We should try to feel and try to understand it. So I should like to share about the just practice that makes us understand the value of the villages. University student volunteer in Jia hold activities in south of China, and they hold the volunteer activities which is named work camp in every vacation in the past 10 years. And what's the vacation? What's the work camp? Work camp is such a kind of volunteer activities that volunteer live in the villages for 1 week or even longer, and during that time, villagers and village work and live together. And the basic of the work camp is that volunteers and the villagers built up an equal relationship. And once we understand the equal relationship, the discrimination or the prejudice on our mind or in our heart will come naturally. And how to produce the equal relationship, we believe through the cooperation and through living together in the daily time will help us to achieve the goal. Every village has different problems. So before the work camp, volunteers mobilize the villagers to discuss the problems in their village together and try to make a plan to solve this problem. And in the work camp, volunteers and villagers work together. Maybe villagers help teach volunteers to do something, or they work together. And these 4 photos shows that in the whole process of the construction project, villagers join in different parts in the projects. So volunteers is not the helper for the villages, but they are the partner of the villagers. And except the environmental problems, we may do something about the spiritual needs of the villagers. The picture shows that a village is taking part into the preparation work of a traditional festival ceremony. And this 6th picture shows that villagers is teaching volunteers to do the local special food. So in China, we may think villagers is somebody who know little, but in fact, they are really the wise men of the local culture. And except the work in daily time, we may getting along each other naturally in the daily life. We have made a lot of community way, such as eating together, talk together, or even we don't know the local language, we still can write to communicate. And we may play chess or do something that villagers interested in. And in the daily detail, we may do some little things to care for each other. So we are not the volunteers and the villagers, but we are the family and we are the friends. So in the past several years, student volunteers can keep on holding work camp in the villages. So in south of China, a month of university students have built up a strong relationship with the villagers. So this relationship is finally influencing each other's life. And there is a story. In 2010, in a work camp, a volunteer built up plant a little tree with the villagers. But the volunteers keep on taking part into the work camp in the next 1 year. But unfortunately, in 2011, once the volunteer visited the village, and there's accident happened, and she was gone. And hearing that, the villagers began to name this tree as the family tree and taking good care of it. And always told the story to the other volunteers. And on the same day, that 3 years later, the villagers write down an article to memorize the volunteers and encourage the career of eliminating the discrimination. So our life is remembered and our life is connected tightly by the same commission. So what can bring us the common experience and bring us some opportunity and finally create something? The opportunity to solve the problem together, the opportunity to learn the skill and try to understand each other's culture, the opportunity to share each one's life stories. And finally, youth people understand and respect the villagers. And maybe some youth people may be changed. So based on this relationship, once we open work camp or we try to solve some problems, we may influence the people or invite them into the village. For example, the people from the nature village, the charity, the media, the company, the hospital, the government, or the family of the leprosy-affected villages. And also based on this relationship, now Jia is trying to hold a work camp in the nature village, which is nearby the leprosy village. And through the work camp, volunteers and the people from the nature village built up a good relationship. And finally, the volunteer will be the link to contact the leprosy affected village into its nature village. And also based on this relationship, youth people understand and respect the villagers. And we are just like their descendants. And now Jia is trying to record a life story and record their experience by writing or by the video. So people should rethink and people should remember how we used to know about this disease and how we used to deal with the people who are affected by the leprosy. So, and we should try to understand again the value of the group of the people. So, in other words, what the youth people can do is, first, getting along with the villagers equally. And the second, try to learn what is respect. And third, inherits their spiritual value. And finally, preserve them. So we believe villager is the value of our society, and especially to the youth people. And at last, thank you for Nippon Foundation and Sasakawa Memorial Health Condition. Thank you.
リンさんどうもありがとうございました。これまでいろんな話が出てきまして、いずれも大事な話だったんですが、今の中国のジアの経験は少し新しい問題を提起しているように思います。特に学生ボランティアが一緒にビリッジっていうのはまあ。
Oh, sorry. I think the Chinese presentation is providing us with a very new issue because they're living together, not just visiting them as volunteers. They become part of the villages and neighbors and friends. And starting from there, many new things can start. So that was a very interesting point of view. And I'm sure some of you in the audience may want to know the details. So we'll have time for you, Ms. Lee, if you come back and talk about the details. The next presentation has to come from Thailand. Ms. Shiratam, Lachao Samsai Institute, that belongs to the Thai Ministry of Health.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's my honor to be here and have a chance to share your Thailand experience about integration the leprosy colonies into general communities. It is about demolishing the wall, separating them from us, or separating us from them. In Thailand, before the integration, we have altogether 12 leprosy colonies and 1 leprosarium in the center. In the colony, the Department of Disease Control provided the land for the people to live and earn a living there. We also, the Department of Disease Control also provided the water sources for the people to use for agricultural purpose and also use as a source of daily food. People, the community members, live in the community in peaceful way. They live among the people who are similar. The Department of Disease Control provided allowance to the members of the community, $143 per month, and with free medical treatment. And they also have other sources of income earning. They got married. They have children, grandchildren. When growing up, their children, some of them leave the colonies and never come back. They want to forget their past and their identity. Some of them live with their parents, helping them to run the orchard or a farm. From our study and survey, we found that the colony members worry about the future of their children because the land that provided to them by the DDC, I mean the Department of Disease Control, provided for only the people who affected by leprosy, not for their children. When they pass away, the land have to be given back to the government, and the children have to move away. This is what they worry a lot. Integration the colonies into the general community could help to solve this problem. For the infrastructure, the DDC maintenance and construct the infrastructure, the land, the water sources, the electricity to the community. But the budget is not enough because the main priority work of the DDC is to control the disease, not the rehabilitation thing. To integrate the colony into the general community would allow the local administrative organization to come and manage the infrastructure maintenance and construction. For the healthcare, the basic healthcare also provided by the colony. The colony staff is very limited in terms of skill, and also the colony also have the limited of medical material and equipments. While the hospital, the local hospital, they have a doctor, nurse, and also better medical material and equipment, but they do not come and provide a basic treatment to the people in the colony because the colony belong to the DDC, not belong to the general community. Integration of the community, of the colonies into the general community would help to solve this problem. In the integration process, we conducted step by step and colony by colony, not all of them simultaneously. At the moment, we just integrated 3 colonies into the general community. 5 of them still in the process. 4 of them, we have no plan in that, in the integration process yet. We have preparation step, implementation step, and monitoring and evaluation step. For the preparation stage, before this, we survey the community, and we also, I have 5 minutes, okay. We conducted a survey. I become nervous. We conducted a survey and also study. The student from VU University in the Netherlands helped us to study the readiness of the people in the community. What is their concerns and what is the possibility to integrate into the community. After that, after we have enough information, we introduce this to the member of the community. We hearing their voice. They talk and discuss about the disadvantages or advantages of integration the colonies into the community. What is their worrisome? And then they will vote what they would like to be. They prefer integration or they prefer to live as usual. Apart from the people from the colony, we also approach the stakeholders, the local organization, and also at local level, and also the stakeholder at national level to discuss them about the possibility and their roles in the integration process. We met the local administrative, the land department, the health sector, the local hospital. After that, we draft the MOU together, and the ceremony was organized. In the MOU identifies what are the roles of each organization. For example, the land department role is to issue the right on the land for the people affected, so they can hand over and pass it to their children when they pass away. And the role of the foundation, or the role of the Department of Disease Control, the DDC still give the people the allowance, the monthly allowance. And after the MOU, the monitoring and evaluation was conducted to see whether each organization perform their role according to the MOU, and also explore the survey the satisfaction of the people in the colony. If everything, and in the colony, the community also encouraged to establish the local volunteers to minimize the gaps between the people in the community and the people in the colonies by visit them regularly, and also organize the event that the people from the two different, from inside and outside, to come together and contact and do their activity together to minimize the gap. After everything is fine, I mean the people in the community satisfied with the integration, the Ministry of Social Development and Human Security will issue the announcement, legally announcement, moving the colony from the colonialist, integrated into general community legally. Thank you very much. I think I am on time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Shiratan-san. Human resource limitation, fund limitation, and integration with community members, those have been identified as issues, but through dialogue, they developed infrastructure through cooperation in an attempt to promote integration. So she shed light on such efforts in Thailand. Now I would like to listen to the experience in Brazil. The presenter is Mr. Thiago Flores. He's going to share with us his experience in Brazil, but he will be speaking in Portuguese. So there will be a translation into Japanese.
Uma família que residia, né, na colônia Santa Isabel. Eu fui para a colônia com 2 dias.
私はブラジルのミナジェライ州の
My name is Thiago Flores. I live in Santa Isabel colony in Betim, and I am the second generation who are often called the separated children. But actually, I was not separated. I'm an adopted kid. This is the Santa Isabel colony's former central entrance. In Latin America, once Santa Isabel colony was the biggest colony, but there is an inscription here in Latin. It says that we remain in good condition. Dialogue between generations is quite important. Down to third generation, we need to share our history, and we need to involve the third generation so that they would see the issue as their own issue. That's the aim of our activities.
As pessoas que moram nas colônias são pessoas muito inteligentes. Então, elas sabem o que elas querem e o que elas precisam. A gente precisa só ser o ator social para fazer o que a vontade delas sejam representadas.
We always roll out activities to encourage participation from the community. They are intelligent and they understand their needs, so we try to reflect the needs of participants in our meeting. I am a lawyer, and we organize public hearing in order to understand the needs of the both parties. And we ask City Council to bring in the politicians, and we organize public hearing in order to solve the problems. We have a good relationship and good connection with the governments, be it regional government or central government. Our president accepted the guarantee for leprosy-affected people, so we have developed the relationship with federal government, and we have an amicable relationship. This picture on the upper right, for a long time in the federal government, he possessed very important position such as Chief Cabinet Secretary, and we invited him to our lunch, and he spent whole day at Santa Isabel colony. By developing such connection with the national government, we hope to promote our needs. And we also involved Brazil's celebrities because they are quite influential. So we ask them to focus on leprosy issue in order to attract attention. In Santa Isabel colony, we have a choir group, and we've already released 2 CDs, and they are available in the market. And this is the way to communicate our message. Every year, during the last week of January, we organize this concert with very famous musicians. And this concert is held within the premises of the colony, and through which we would like to enhance the awareness of the public on leprosy.
de arquitetura voltado para a questão da psicologia, cursos sobre mídia, cursos de comunicação social, porque para a gente combater o preconceito, a gente precisa tirar o foco da doença, a gente precisa investir em cultura.
We also work with various universities, and not only medical school, but also, for example, architecture department and a media department. They are relevant to this issue. So together, we implement various projects in order to raise awareness towards leprosy.
Com a Igreja Católica, né? A gente faz algumas caminhadas, algumas ações juntas, viagens no passado, sítios indígenas, locais de campo, e pedimos, né, à Igreja Católica uma audiência do Papa Francisco. E tivemos um retorno positivo, e a gente gostaria que essa audiência não fosse do Brasil, não fosse do Brasil, mas que fosse uma audiência do mundo todo, né, com esse ponto decidido mundial, para entrar na nossa causa.
In Brazil, we have a close partnership with the Catholic Church. In different regions, we organize, for example, walking event. And then His Holiness Francesco has accepted our request to meet up with us. And we would like to organize a meeting with His Holiness in Rome, but we would like to involve other leprosy-affected people from other countries.
Visitei uma ilha onde tem até um memorial muito bonito. Eu fico imaginando como ali a gente poderia produzir bons filmes, né, relacionados à questão da como aquelas pessoas enxergam a questão do mar, né? O mar como a sua liberdade. Então, eu acho que a gente combater o preconceito, a gente avançar na questão da discriminação, a gente precisa investir em outras formas, através da cultura, de publicações não voltadas à doença, mas voltadas à vida que as pessoas tinham nas colônias.
And we also believe it is important to participate in international events. Once we visited Japan, and we visited a wonderful museum on a certain island which relates to leprosy, and we were very impressed with the landscape. And we asked the islanders as to how they perceive the ocean. And for me, ocean meant freedom. And what I felt was that maybe we should not specialize or focus too much on the disease. We should try to adapt some cultural viewpoint in our activities. This is about separated children, the children of the second generation. We are now negotiating with the Brazilian government, and I believe the federal government will soon accept a request to pay compensation to these children. There are many leprosy-related issues, and we have activities for that. And we ask other organizations from different disciplines to help us, for example, sport and other fields. Because Brazil is a big country, so we alone cannot achieve a big thing. Therefore, we would like to increase the number of our partners.
Algumas publicações, né, internacionais que envolvessem a questão da vida das pessoas na colônia. Eu queria fazer, por exemplo, uma publicação sobre as pessoas que vivem na colônia. Um livro, por exemplo, receitas, né, das comunidades locais, das receitas locais. Um outro livro sobre a cultura local, o esporte, o que fazer para se divertir. E, assim, um livro de arquitetura, um livro só de fotografias antigas, porque aí a gente consegue acabar com o preconceito mostrando que essas pessoas são pessoas comuns. Pelo período elas estiveram inseridas. São pessoas como outros qualquer.
My idea is through cooperation with you, maybe we should publish books. Maybe books to introduce lives of the residents in the colony. Maybe we can publish a book of recipes of the dishes that are eaten in the colony or colonies, or what kind of activities that they had in the colony, maybe about architecture. Maybe we can publish a photo book concerning colonies. And we would like to introduce the history of the residents in colonies, through which we hope to enhance the understanding that they are ordinary people like others. Just happen to be that they were affected by leprosy.
Deve fazer pequenas coisas. Um conjunto de pequenas coisas mal resolvidas que levam ao resultado muito terrível. Muito obrigado.
And then this is my final message. Maybe one activity may be small. Maybe we can accumulate small activities to come up with a big achievement. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。ブラジル
Thank you very much, Tiago. Likewise, Brazil, Thailand, or various other countries, there are patients and the affected people who have experienced in a similar manner, especially the separation between parents and children. And I think this has become one of the major issues being addressed in Brazil, especially. Now, one thing that caught my attention from Brazil was that they have taken a very creative means to let the public know of what you are doing as part of the activities. You have engaged the artists. You brought these famous artists, musicians into the colony and hosted a concert. That is quite an amazing activity that you've planned. It's very unique. And I think that this would give the opportunity for these artists, as well as the people living in that colony, to be able to have fun together. Now I would like to pass the microphone over to Mr. Kazuo Mori from Japan. He is the current chair and the president of the National Council of Hansen's Disease Sanatorium Residents of Japan. The floor is yours. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you very much for the kind introduction earlier. I am the president of National Council of Hansen's Disease Sanatorium Residents. My name is Kazuo Mori. Now, in Japan, there are national sanatorium totaling in 13 different districts. Now, in the board group in those sanatorium, all the members got together and formed this national council of the sanatorium residents. And I was elected out from those members and is the incumbent chair for this council. In session 3, we're talking about the future of leprosy issues. When it comes to the issue that we're facing here in Japan, we have to understand the past in order for us to come up with what can be done for the future. Because we have to first and foremost to recognize the origin of where we've started. And I think that history can only tell us that. Now, when it comes to the leprosy-related policy done by the authority, this actually was taking place for over a century now. And as some people from different countries have made the presentations as well, but I would say that the leprosy patients as well as the affected people here in Japan have went through such a harsh experience here in Japan due to the segregation policy. And it is quite obvious to picture what they may have went through by looking at the policies that Japanese government have endorsed. The idea was to capture these leprosy patients as well as the affected people into an asylum so that this would be a complete opportunity to segregate these patients from the rest of the world. But in order to achieve that, the government not only took the central role to segregate these people, however, they have taken a certain measures in the society so that the patients would never be able to live their life as outside of the sanatorium or in the leprosariums. And this is the leprosy prevention law. As was mentioned earlier, that this law, especially when it comes to the leprosy control measures taken by the Japanese government, this issue is something that can never be escaped if we talk about the history of leprosy. What this means is that for each and every prefecture, this policy and the movement was to not allow a single patient exist in the society. Therefore, it was a zero leprosy policy that was taken by the government. And when they discover the patient, they brought them into an asylum or leprosarium and completely segregated them from the rest of the society. And in 1906, the leprosy prevention law became effective. And as a result from this zero leprosy policy had gained the momentum and was pushed proactively into the various regions of Japan. This was a nationwide policy and led by the Japanese government and also involved many Japanese citizens. Therefore, this was more like a public and private sector going hand in hand to segregate the leprosy patients. It was 1949 when I discovered of my leprosy. I was called upon by the Ministry of Health. And when I went there, I was told that I have leprosy. And in Takamatsu Prefecture, there is an Oshima Zenshoen, which is the sanatorium. And I was taken there and lived there together with my sister, who was also diagnosed as leprosy. So two of us, the siblings, I don't know whether we can say we're now happy. However, when we were taken to the sanatorium, there were a lot of paupers with leprosy who was also being captured and then brought to this sanatorium. Therefore, with a certain medicine in place, the symptom was able to be cured. So that's how my siblings were being saved. I am one of the 6 siblings. So other brothers and sisters who were not leprosy already passed away. Therefore, my sister and myself, who's been diagnosed of leprosy, had lived the most than the rest of my siblings, actually, which is quite weird. Now, even in 21st century, this leprosy issues are not fully resolved. Therefore, the government-led segregation policy was still had an aftermath during that time. And all these people have now become very old, who's remained in sanatorium, and they do not have much time left in their life to live in this world. Therefore, as a National Council of Hansen's disease sanatorium residents, this issue would have to be resolved in a much more faster manner. But we now see the light in terms of resolving this problem, which is the light for us. However, as ourselves still remain in this society, there is some issues still remain in the society, which is the prejudice and discrimination as well as stigma. However, in order for these to be fully resolved, I would say that's still a long road ahead of us. Last year, this is the number that I've gathered, October 31st of last year, there are 1,779 members. But today, it's less by 20 or so people. The average age of those members already at 83-year-old. And for these people, the challenge is to hold a network and to meet with their families and to create the bond with the family members. However, many people have failed to do so and is living in solitude in sanatoriums. Now, our mission is to completely remove the stigma and discrimination on leprosy so that these people would be able to be fully integrated into the society. And back in 1951, the nationwide council of Hansen's disease sanatorium was established. Therefore, it's already almost 70 years since its inception. And these people have went through such a tremendous effort and jeopardized their life in order to come thus far. Although our road is still halfway through, but in order for us to further propel our road ahead of us, we would have to have the deep understanding towards this disease by rest of the society. And with that, we'd like to continue with this activity in a more powerful, proactive manner. What we would want to urge the young people is that I want them to be our supporters by understanding our situation. So once again, thank you very much for your attention.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Mori. Let me make an announcement here. The Secretariat has asked me to say that 2 persons have left their bus tickets, and they must pick up their bus tickets now. Keiko Yamafuji, Kirita Keiko, they're both Japanese. So pick up your bus tickets so that you'll be able to get on the bus. So go to the travel office, please. Mr. Mori's story. It is his own experience and the association and the activities undertaken and the issues remaining. What he said in the last is most important. I think this applies to all of us in Japan. One of the ways to get people know about the state of leprosy, and I think it's already done in different countries. And in Japan, we have a term called kataribe, storytelling. So that's it's a great experience, an important way of talking to the people. But unfortunately, because of the aging and less number of people with the disease or affected persons, they want to talk, but they feel that they're not strong enough to undertake storytelling. And I think that's the background of Mr. Mori's talk today. And we have to find out who might be able to do that. In China and in Thailand, the student volunteers are involved. Maybe that's another way Japan could look at it, the situation, the legacy of the past. The past is important. We still have little time. Perhaps we should find ways of carrying the banner on. I would like to open the floor now and invite the participants to say. And if you raise your hand and if I say, please say your name and your affiliation. And if you're asking a question, please say who you would like your question to be asked. And many people have already raised their hands. So each person don't talk long. We start with the woman there. Oh. Shiotani from a university. With regard to, there was a legal issue at the Kumamoto, and we won, and we were very happy with that lawsuit. But unfortunately, the former affected people, they wanted to go to Kurokawa onsen, that's the hot water bathing, but the hot water bathing said, don't come. And I think it is very important to win the people, to enlighten them. And I think we have learned a great deal of how you enlighten the people in different countries. And I would like to take the hint that enlightening the young people, the next generation, most important. It has to be part of the human rights education, but that applies very much to the leprosy. I would like to know what you do in your countries to educate the young generation, what are told to them. That's the first thing. The second thing, those in the medical field, the treatment is being conducted. Has anybody been involved in the prevention of leprosy? So I think that's very important that the medical profession would be involved in handing down the legacy to the next generation. So 2 questions. Thank you very much. That was a very clear question. So, and please answer as much as shortly. Ms. Lin? Or Mr. Lin? Ms. Lin? Why don't you stay there, please?
We think we should first connect with them by ourselves. So the experience we getting along with the villagers is most important, I think. And the second one is that maybe in China there's less information about the leprosy affected villages or some study about the leprosy. So maybe to use people, if there are more information or books about that, maybe that is important.
医療関係者について何かコメントあります
Do you have any comments about the medical practitioners, what they ought to be doing? Do you have any suggestion whether the doctors and nurses?
role of medical and nursing services people in the eradication of discrimination against persons affected by leprosy? いや、特になければもちろん結構です。
If you don't have anything to say, that's fine. Maybe you can give it a thought and come back. Mr. Hiratan? Ms. Hiratan? Ms. Shiratan from Thailand?
To educate the young generation to know about leprosy. In Thailand, we focus on only in the area that we have leprosy because our number of newly detected cases is very few. We just do focus in the children in that area. We invite them. I mean that the people affected by leprosy, I give you the example. They set the self-help group under the support of the Nippon Foundation, give the fund for them to establish this group. And this group, they participate in the health activity of the local hospital. They organize the exhibition, and the children, I mean the primary school children, come and learn about leprosy from this exhibition. They ask the question, they play the game with the children, what leprosy look like, and the children ask the experience of the people affected about their suffer on leprosy and what is the cause of leprosy. So we approach the young generation in this way.
Okay.
And for the
Medical and
role of
nursing.
the doctor and the nurse, the doctor and the nurse also provided the knowledge to the people about the fact of leprosy, and also help to reduce the stigma. Let me give you one example. The nurse in one hospital, she has, she takes care of one leprosy patient who isolated himself from the society. He just locked himself up in the cottage. So this nurse, she visited the man in the house and encouraged him to get treatment. After that, she brought him into the society by encouraging him to continue earn a living by doing handicraft and sell in the hospital. So at this way, he exposed the people, and the people come to buy his thing and also ask him about his disease, and he also become confident to contact to the people, and this is the way that the nurse can join the reduction of stigma in my place.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. This is a very good question.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Chair Go.
No decorrer da idade. Então, o tratamento e a reintegração social das crianças, né, no próprio meio é mais fácil. O que preocupa é porque se tem muita criança sendo diagnosticada, é porque tem muito adulto sem tratamento e sem diagnóstico.
Unfortunately, in Brazil is number one in terms of new cases amongst children. Excuse me. But the children are not prejudiced. Therefore, when they are treated, they are cured quickly and they return to the society fairly quickly. But the issue is that there are so many new cases amongst children, meaning that there are many more adults who are yet to have treatment. That's it. So, Mr. Mori, please. young people, especially children in the primary school and junior high school, I think it is important to educate them and enlighten them. There is a prejudice and discrimination against leprosy, and there is a chain of suffering which should be stopped, should not be handed down to the next generations. Otherwise, the children of our family members will be discriminated. So such negative chain need to be cut off, and young generation must be educated. And I think it is a must for us. About medical professionals and their participation in education activities, when I was in Leprosarium, when I looked at the medical practitioners, maybe they were professional in medical treatment. However, it seemed to me that it had never occurred to them that they had to protect the human rights of the residents. That was my impression. Nurses, however, were closer to us. When they saw us suffering, they dedicated themselves to ease our suffering. However, I didn't really hear so many words of gratitude amongst leprosy affected people towards doctors, whereas there are many words of gratitude towards nurses. And this is something we need to think about. Thank you. About medical professionals, Dr. Kikuni is amongst the medical professionals. Perhaps he's the right person to make a comment. For decades, he had worked towards eliminating discrimination against leprosy-affected people as well as the disease. Well, thank you, but I also need to make a closing remark as well. So it seems to me I am starting early to close this symposium. But there are many things I would like to say. One of the things that I would like to say is that with regard to leprosy, in terms of the medical information, there is so much information, and it is difficult to comprehensively educate people about leprosy. And there has been a lot of advancement in medicine, and so towards which doctors have made a lot of effort. So I hope, Mr. Mori, you understand that. Going to leprosarium is a huge task for doctors. So doctors who made that effort should be respected. But in Japan, we hardly have any new case. We have no new cases of leprosy. So our foundation dispatched doctors to the Philippines, and in the island of Kulian, the doctors meet with actual patients, and then Dr. Kita had decided to dispatch nurses to the Philippines so that the Japanese nurses would learn the reality of the people living with leprosy. So I would like to ask the Nippon Foundation to continue to support such activities. As for young generation, the Lee San's organization, JIA, actually, they are participated by students of Waseda University in Tokyo. I think it's very important. Mr. Ryotaro Harada got married to a Chinese girl. Mr. Harada is here, so you come forward, come here. Ryotaro Harada, with the support of leprosy-affected people, he is working as part of JIA. He is a handsome man. And then a Chinese girl, his wife, agreed to marry him, maybe because he's handsome, or maybe he fell in love with her because the Chinese women are so attractive. But I would like him to say something. Well, I found the Chinese lady very attractive. My idea is that in the medical field, I think there are storytellers in the medical field as well. In case of leprosy, we should not see leprosy issue as a negative issue. Leprosy issue gives us an opportunity to send a message to the younger generation. So we should really take this opportunity and treat this as an asset. So he's a respectable young man, and there are many more of him in Japan. Well, Professor Kikuni acted as a facilitator. Thank you. Professor Kikuni graduated from the same university as mine. He's much older. But thank you very much for good comments. So I would like to take the next question. The gentleman over there. In Higashi Murayama City, there is a Zensho, and there is a museum of leprosy material. My name is Sawata. About educating young people, as Mr. Hirasawa said earlier, storytellers have made a lot of efforts to enlighten primary school children and junior high school children. Every year, they spend a few hours learning about leprosy. So they have opportunities to learn about leprosy in Higashi Murayama. All in all, annually, how many children participate in such storytelling events? What I heard is that tens of thousands. Well, we have statistics. The Board of Education is also supporting such event. So I think Higashi Murayama case could be a model case. I was also involved in such activity, and I read somewhere it's 30,000 to 40,000 every year. So many children visit the museum, and they passionately learn about the history of leprosy. Sometimes those children leave comments, and then some of the comments are wonderful, and which is very encouraging.
My name is Morimoto. I am the president of IDEA. Earlier, there was a presentation made by Brazil, and I came here to see the PowerPoint presentation made by him. Now, I just want to talk a little bit further of what it does. Now, I think that the person who appeared in the presentation was quite famous, and he himself was an affected person. In the past, it was more like politicians or scholars who actually did the research of leprosy and to propagate the information about leprosy. But then the person have started to say that we ourselves, the leprosy-affected people, should take the lead in communicating what their disease were all about. International Association of Hansen's Disease, for And those are the actual word or the organization of the acronym of IDEA. And in 2006, this was established as an NPO, and we already have an 11-year-long experience. I visited to Myanmar, Abjaya, Brazil. Other than Spain, I did visited all different countries myself. Last month, I went to China, which is led by Mr. Harada, who just commented earlier. It was 20th and 21st of December. In Canton, there is this village in there, which I also visited. 10 some years prior to that, there was this village called Ringo. That was the place where Mr. Harada got married to this Chinese pretty girl. And that was the village that many of the residents there were suffering from poverty. But one thing that surprised me was that where there was this one old lady who had a big injury at the back of her feet, and Mr. Harada was treating her injury. And I asked him, you know, you don't have the medical background. And are you sure you're doing this? And then he said, I already know about this, so it's okay. And then this old lady thanked Ryotaro, who's Mr. Harada, thanking him for taking care and dressing of the injury. When I asked the question to this old lady, what's your hopes for the future is? And she responded, I don't have any hopes for the future. I would only wait till die. But several years later, I again had a chance to visit the volunteer activities that is led by Mr. Harada. And I again asked the same question. There were 25 affected people living there. And then they said, well, thanks to the support of Japanese people, like these young Japanese people, we are just so happy. I no longer want to die, but I want to live and want to become friends with more and more people like these Japanese young boys. So their viewpoint have completely changed. So, Lin-san, what I would like to ask you is that was the very cold day when I visited in China. And this village was right in the valley of Big Mountain. And they were living there without any heater, no nurses, no doctors. And I was there when they were ready to have dinner. And this wife of this family made the food for 25 people, and everyone carried their utensils and have gotten food from this lady. But the situation when I saw this, although those infrastructure were not fully satisfiable, however, the views of the villagers have changed dramatically thanks to the various effort that these Japanese young men and girls have provided to this village. Thank you. I just wanted to share my experience with you. Okay, next question. Please go ahead. My name is Sakamoto from Doshisha University. I have a proposal to make. Well, as Mr. Mori have mentioned in his presentation, we had the leprosy prevention law. And since then, for over 90 years or so, people had to live in segregation, which must have been very harsh and painful. No matter how history was, we have to keep this as a memory. And I think that the history is the intellect for the people living the world today. And so for the discrimination and the prejudice, stigma towards leprosy patient as well as to the affected people, I would say that this history would have to be kept for the future so that this would remind us that there will be no intervention on human rights as such occur down the road in the future. So I would say that this is the very essence of the panel discussions that we have had this afternoon. Now, when it comes to leprosy, there are major characteristics, meaning that no matter which political regime it is, or whatever the society is structured, or whatever the religion is all about, the leprosy patients, as well as the affected people, had gone through the discrimination all the way through their life, which is a negative legacy for the human beings. Therefore, this has to be kept in full for the people in the future. Therefore, in order to do so, all these people from around the world have gathered here in Tokyo. And with the support of the affected people, I think that we should file this for the UNESCO's memory of as the legacy. And I would say that Japan, as well as Brazil, I think that this could be represented as a cooperation between multiple countries. And I think that this could be one of the proposals that I would like to make for this occasion. Well, thank you very much for such a specific proposal that you have made for us. And I think that this is the light for us for the future. Now, Mr. Sakamoto, he is one of my old friend. And in 2010, there was a leprosy elimination of the Leprosy Discrimination Act that was adopted. And there was another adoption at the UN General Assembly at the Human Rights Committee in order for the elimination of the prejudice and the stigma of leprosy. And he actually have formulated all the documentations that to be brought in support of that adoption. And so I think that he had mentioned of the words that was just mentioned, keeping his effort in mind, that contributed greatly in the recognition by the United Nations. I would want this to be a major movement so that this memorable inheritance would be part of UNESCO's.
It's very, very important in a forward-looking sense. Leprosy today and tomorrow, and how should society respond, dissect two groups of populations of leprosy-affected people. Those affected people limited by the knowledge about leprosy epidemiology from isolations into integration. Now, how society should respond for those people who had been isolated and now need integrations and empowerment. Those who had been, who had suffered and had experience just because of the limitations of knowledge on leprosy epidemiology, the lack of treatment during those times, and even the questions on the medical aspects on public health approach today. But I think it's also important that the issue of what should be done today and tomorrow in terms of infrastructures. Many of colonies and sanitarium are now facing similar questions of transformation. What should we do in terms of tomorrow of those sanitariums and colonies? And what should we do with those residents who are already aging in terms of society's response to these old people and residents who had lived long time in these institutions, who are now 85 years old and with a few years more in the sanitarium? What is the future of sanitarium? What is the future of colonies today with the advent of new therapy? However, this should be forward-looking in terms of these discussions, and then what should the society respond to the new cases of leprosy that are being detected today as we speak? There are still countries that are new cases are still being reported. The point is, new cases of leprosy today should not experience the same experience of leprosy of yesterday. There should be no more stigma. There should be no more discrimination. Our society should respond to leprosy as a disease, that they will never experience stigmatizations and discriminations as the previous leprosy patients, the residents of the institution, had experienced before, because there is now medicines that are free and available, and our society should not, and discrimination and stigma has no more place in our society today. That's the reasons we are here today for the global appeal, because the future of leprosy should be addressed that leprosy is a disease, not as a special disease, but as an ordinary disease with treatment. And discriminations and other aspects of stigmatization should not happen today and even tomorrow, because leprosy is a disease and is curable. I think that's the forward looking of it. And in terms of public health and medical aspects, there's a lot of revolutions going on in terms of treatment and in terms of even in preventions of leprosy. So I think the bottom line that dissects yesterday, today, and tomorrow is the advancement of technology and science of what leprosy is as a disease.
He has said exactly what I intended to say, so thank you very much for that. And it's been repeated, and he has also done that. Leprosarium patients are getting less and less, so what do we do about those leprosarium in the future? Do we have them as the memory of the past? Who will bear the cost? The government. What is most important, and this is the principle of the United Nations, and it's all written there, the future of the leprosarium included, perhaps they should become a new general hospital, or perhaps we should leave it as a historical heritage. It should be managed and controlled, and those who are living there should be supported in living better. There are many options. How do we get to the objective? It has to be this discussion of the persons who are living there. I think any decision that will be made has to be made by them, not people around them, but they should decide what their future ought to be. And that is part of the principles of the United Nations. So I just wanted to say that we have room for two more people, either comments or questions. Wait until the microphone, please.
Masalah terbesar orang yang pernah mengalami kusta adalah penerimaan. Mungkin jelaskan.
The biggest problem of the affected people is how they will be accepted by the society, integrated by the society. At the last session, which is this, we are discussing the present and the future of leprosy, and let me speak to that subject.
Dan penekanan informasi kepada masyarakat itu adalah kusta tidak dilihat dari kecacatannya, tetapi jelaskanlah bahwa kusta itu sudah sembuh walaupun tidak dicatat. Ini informasi yang perlu ditekan.
In the past, we were rejected by the society, many such experiences. Discrimination going forward must not be the part of the experience. I think information is most important, getting the information out. And the former or the affected persons, they will not, they may be deformed, but it will not be it must be told that the affected person will not be the source of leprosy affecting other people. That information is very important to get it out.
Itu akibat, bukan karena cacat itu dia masih menderita kusta.
Also, the most important thing is that the information is correct, proper. It's not that you are affected by the leprosy, but those who are affected people may have a certain ugly remains, but that doesn't mean anything to the society. I think you're right. I think most important is that the specialists, doctors and nurses, would take the responsibility of stating this important information to the general public. And those of you who are here, nurses and medical personalities, including the physicians and doctors, please hearken to what has now been said and walk with us going forward. I still have 1 or 2 minutes. Is there anybody who wants to make the last statement or question? Yes? Make it short, please. You didn't raise your hand? It was my mistake. Anybody raising your hand? If not, go ahead.
Briefly, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think that it has come through clearly that there are many people who are making individual efforts to break down stigma and discrimination. There is also the plea for families to accept people affected by the disease. There's also the issue of social response. So this is, and then there's the question of collective responsibility.
Absolutely.
So this is a response that's required on many levels.
Thank you. That is very important. Individual responsibility as well as collective. Collective includes families, schools, communities, even local government and central government, or even international community. Everyone should get together to fight against discrimination against persons affected by leprosy. This seems to be the good agreed consensus conclusion of this session. And I thank you very much for your cooperation. これで皆さんのご協力を得て第3セッション
Thank you very much. With your collaboration, we will close the 3rd session and the symposium today. Thank you very much.
どうもありがとうございました。パネルディスカッションにご参加いただきました皆さん。
So let us give a round of big applause to the panelists. Thank you very much.
それではパネリストの皆様もどうぞご。
So may I ask the panelists to go back to your seats? Thank you.
ありがとうございました。それではここで
Now we would like to call upon Professor Kenzo Okikuni, President of the Sasakawa Memorial Health Foundation, for his closing address. Professor Okikuni, please. Kikuni is my name. I am from the Sasakawa Memorial Health Foundation. Professor Yokota has wrapped up the panel discussion 3, and also we had a lot of discussions through all the 3 panel discussions, and we've already heard a lot of ideas. And I don't really have nothing more to say. I would just like to say thank you for the contributions. But this marks the 10th global appeal. And the theme this time is nursing. And I think this is quite significant because nurse or nursing are the basis for the help we can provide to leprosy-affected people, or rather, through nursing, we can live with the people. I think that is the basic point of nursing. So with regard to nursing, we were able to have an in-depth discussion, which I thought was very timely and meaningful. I had attended the global appeal 10 years ago, and I had attended every year. But this year, we had such a passionate and discussions. So in that sense, this form of global appeal, I hope, will continue. And I believe you feel the same way. In the symposium, we identified many issues. In the last session, we heard a discussion around how we should pass down the memory, history, and information to the younger generations. There was mention about the memory of the world heritage. And already our foundation has begun to think about how we can establish leprosy-related memory history as a memory of the world. As Dr. Josephine Robertson said, history is not only about the past, but it also leads to the future. So in that sense, I think this is a very, very important opportunity for us to think about various issues. I am also very delighted to be joined by many participants from all over the world. Despite the cold weather, I thank you very much for attending this symposium. And also, we discussed the difficult issues, and I would like to extend my gratitude for our interpreters who assisted communication. I would like to extend my thanks not only to English, Japanese interpreters, but to other language interpreters. But my biggest thanks go to all the staff members who worked very hard behind the scene. And then this wonderful event started more than a year ago in terms of planning. So the members of the Nippon Foundation, well, of course, our Sasakawa Memorial Health Foundation helped a bit, but I would like to thank the Nippon Foundation staff members and also the chairman of the foundation, Mr. Yohei Sasakawa. With that, I would like to close today's symposium. Thank you very much.
キークニ様、どうもありがとうございました。
Professor Kikuni, thank you very much for your closing remark. Now, Ms. Tomiko Okuhira, may I ask you to come to the trouble desk after the symposium? Yoichiro Iwakawa, Rieko Koriyama, Miyoji Morimoto, Nobuko Yamaguchi. we have messages to you. So after this symposium, may I ask you to come to the reception? So we would like to declare the closure of the International Symposium on Leprosy. Why leprosy now? So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for staying with us until the very end for many hours.